Okay, hi. My name is Kiril, and today I'm going to present the infrastructure as a code with Terraform. So I'm going to show you the problems that we had at VMware and how Terraform helped us to solve them, and how do we manage our external infrastructures with Terraform. So I'm part of the DevOps team. We are working on the SaaS product, so all our environments are externally facing. We are running on the AWS cloud, so which Terraform will help us to solve the problems that I'm going to present in this session. So what is in agenda? So I'm going to show the problems that we had before Terraform. What is Terraform, our use case, how do we use it, and how our CI/CD pipelines works with Terraform. Then we will have questions. So the problems that we had before we had Terraform. So everyone wants the same infrastructural own environment. So if you have few external environments, for example, you have development, you have staging, you have production, and you want to make sure that all the environments are completely equal. If you do this manually, it will be very hard for you to achieve this. Next problem is you want some kind of versioning. Imagine that you have a production environment which should be available 24/7, and you have a global team which is located in few areas over the world, and each one needs to make some changes to infrastructure. So how do you version the infrastructure? How do you track the changes? For example, something is broken, how do you revert the change? Okay? You want to be able to quickly deploy the infrastructure, okay? So if you manually, it will be impossible, only if you create some sort of automation to orchestrate this. And always you want to have a production-like environment, because sometimes you want to reproduce the issues that you have in production, and go into a production live system and changing it on the fly, you might affect customers. So you always want to take the production, provision it in the other environment, and to be able to debug the problems that you have. So what do we have? Which kind of infrastructure do we have? We have a global team in US, England, and Israel. We have 3 external environments which is running on AWS. We have staging, development, staging, and production environments. These are customer-facing environments. We are running multiple services on these environments. Our production is based on Dockers. We are running DCOS cluster, which orchestrates all our Docker environment. DCOS cluster per environment. That's all we have. So what was before the Terraform? It was manual infrastructure changes. Okay, we had a lot of problems with that. When you have a global team, someone changed something in US, added a firewall, the load balancer was removed by mistake, so it was really messy. You have no documentation for it, so it was mess for us. You have no versioning, all the problems that I told you, operational overhead. Someone didn't communicate it on Slack or email, so you need to find out why it was changed, who requested the change, etc., etc. Huge problem. So here you have an example of the simple infrastructure, and I would ask you a question: do we need some automation for it to automate the provisioning? Do we need Terraform here? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe the answer here is simple. You have only 3 instances, 1 internet gateway, so maybe not. Here becomes to be more complex. So if you have something like that, you might ask yourself, okay, maybe you need it, but I can handle it manually. But if you have something like this in each environment, so you have this on your development environment, you have this on staging, on production, and you need this to be highly available, this is actually our real environment. You definitely need some automation to handle this stuff. So if you want to add NAT gateways, you want to provision more load balancers, you want to update your scaling groups, etc., 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 you need automation to handle this stuff. So we choose Terraform to help us with this problem. And what is Terraform? Who is new to Terraform here? You, OK. So what is Terraform? Terraform helps you to manage your infrastructure as a code. What does it mean? That means that you treat your infrastructure same as you treat your code. Okay, for your code, you have CI/CD pipelines. Means you build, you test, you do some smoke testing, you deploy the product, you test it, then you promote, and do some other stuff. Same you want to do with the infrastructure. You want to create some change, you want to deploy it on a test environment, you want to see how it works, then you want to promote it to staging, to production, and this is how it works. Sometimes there are some problems that you cannot test everything on with Terraform, but in most of the cases it works good. What else Terraform does? It creates your execution plans. So, for example, you have the current infrastructure, okay, which is deployed. You prepare a change. For example, I want to add one more load balancer to my environment. So you prepare the change, you push it, and then the Terraform will create you the execution plan, which will create you a report and will report to you, OK, this is the current situation. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. For example, I'm going to remove this VM. I'm going to provision another instance, and I'm going to add another load balancer. So before you actually deploy the change, you have an execution plan which will show you what is going to happen before you deploy. It will create you, it uses resource graphs. What does it mean? That means that, for example, you want to create an EC2 instance in the security group and assign the security group to the EC2 instance. So it will create the dependency graph for you, and first the security group will be created, then the EC2 instance, and then the security group will be attached to the EC2 instance. It works in most of the cases. Sometimes it fails. When it fails, when do you want to create complex changes? So you remove a lot of stuff, you read it. Sometimes it has problems, but most of the cases it works. Multi-cloud deployment. You want to use one tool to deploy into multiple clouds. For example, you use Google Cloud, AWS. You might use OpenStack, vSphere, and other providers. So it supports that. These are just an example of the providers. They support much, much more. So what is our deployment flow? So we prepare the change with we prepare the infrastructure change as a code. Terraform is a declarative language. It's not a programming language. It's a declarative language like Puppet or Chef. So you declare what is the change that you want to see on your infrastructure. So you have some limits with that. You cannot really add some logic. If this do this, if this do this. You don't have that kind of logic, but you have some workarounds to achieve that, but not everything. So we prepare a change. We push a change to our Gerrit. Gerrit is our code reviewing system. Then some developer reviews the change. Then the Jenkins will run the smoke testing against this change. What will happen on the Jenkins side? We will check if the code is formatted. We will validate the code if actually this change can be deployed. And then we'll create the execution plan. So before we deploy, we push a change, we go to Jenkins, and we see the picture of what will be changed. Okay? I'll show you in the next slides how it looks like. So after, if the validation plan and the formatting is OK, we decide to merge the change, and then we can deploy. So the notification is sent to the Slack channels. It happens automatically via our pipelines. And then we deploy the change into all environments, and we commit the Terraform state file to Git. So what is Terraform state file? Each time that you deploy the Terraform infrastructure, it creates you the state file of your actual infrastructure. You can think about it like a blueprint of your current infrastructure. Okay? So if you work with Terraform, it's not recommended to go to your environment and change it manually. Okay, because then you will have the mismatch between the actual blueprint, which is a TF state file, and your infrastructure. Okay, so if you decided to use this tool, so use it for everything. So the flow, how it looks like. I'm a developer. I want to provision, for example, one load balancer on my infrastructure. So I prepare a change. I send it to Gerrit. Jenkins detects a change. It will cherry pick the change. Will run the smoke tests, okay, which are formatting, validation, and execution plan. Then the Slack notification will be sent to relevant channels that we are notifying our customers that we are going to deploy the change to the infrastructure and what is the impact of the change, because sometimes you need a downtime for deployment. Then we deploy. So we deploy on Dyn DNS because we provision DNS records. These are external environments, and we deploy to AWS. After deployment is finished, the state file, the blueprint, the updated blueprint is created. The Terraform state file, we commit it to Gerrit, and then we have everything inside our Git. I'll show you how it looks like. So for example, let's go with the flow. Here you have an example of the infrastructure change that I want to deploy. In this example, I want to create a DNS record, okay, for just a simple DNS record and a record. As I mentioned before, you see the second line, the count. As I told you that Terraform is declarative language, and it's very hard to do some logic here. So this is how you do logic in Terraform. So actually, the second line tells me that this change will be deployed only on dev account, okay? So I created the change, I commit it to Git, I send it to Gerrit. From Gerrit, it goes to Jenkins, and then I decide if I can merge it or not. Here's the example of the successful gating, okay? I can see I send the patch, and I have +1 from Jenkins. That means that this change is good for deployment. Okay. And these are the examples of each environment, the execution plan for each environment. So when I send a change, the change might be deployed for each one of the environments that we have. So we run the gating job for staging, development, production, and the execution plan might look differently for each one of them because of the count example that I showed you. Some of the environments will have a bigger number of EC2 instances, some is less. This is an example of the failed gating, okay? So I prepared the change, I send it, and something gone wrong, okay? So I need to fix it. Maybe I don't know, the syntax is wrong or something like that. So what you cannot do with Terraform, okay? For example, I can remove all my infrastructure, okay? Just remove everything, commit it into Git, and I will have +1 from Jenkins. Why? Because it's a valid change. Okay, this is why it's very important to look on the execution plan and to understand if it's really the change that you want to deploy. Okay, because from the gating perspective, you can check only the syntax and the logic. Okay, you cannot check if this is really what you want. The failure. So what happens after I decide to deploy the change, okay? The notification is sent to Slack channels, and then it deployed to the external environments, and then we commit to the Gerrit. This is the example of the notification that is sent to Slack channel, okay? Our Slack bot, CSP Ragnar from Viking sessions. Okay, so this is the screenshot of the deployment. As you can see, this commit message is automatically created. So you can see that the change was deployed into the production environment by me. Okay, and the Jira ticket is automatically created and updated with the relevant information. Okay, everything happens from the Jenkins and from the Gerrit with some automation that we created around that. Yes? The Terraform, It's a simple binary tool, so you can run it on each machine. It might, I'm not sure about Windows, but it will work on Mac, on Linux. Simple binary. It's not a system that you need to install, something like that. You just download it, and it runs. Yes? Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, what happens if the getting passed, but in deployment it fails? Okay? Then we fix it manually. Okay? We see what happened. Sometimes it might happen because you might have a mismatch between the current infrastructure and the blueprint, the TF state file that you have, because someone maybe touched the infrastructure and created something, changed something. We just see the output, what happened. We go to the infrastructure, we check, and we fix it manually. We fix what is need to be fixed. For example, I don't know. I don't have an example in my head, but the end result, we will run the redeploy job once again until it will success. Okay? Usually it takes, if it failed, usually it takes maximum 2 times, and with some adjustments. Other questions? Yes. Excuse me? I'm not sure these tools exist. So the question is, if you have a current deploy infrastructure and you want to create a configuration like the reverse engineering for Terraform, I'm not aware of this tool. It's tricky. This is the answer. It's tricky. What we did, we built everything from scratch, and we built everything with Terraform. Once again, our deployment flow, just the full picture, okay? So we just go in once again. So actually, that's all. I didn't want to go deep dive with the configuration and all that kind of stuff. I just show you our use case, how it works, how do we use Terraform. Now I'll take questions. The plan? Yes. I don't have internet. If I will have... Live demo. Yeah, for example, this one. This is not the plan. This is actually not this. Sorry. Terraform. Yeah, so basically the plan will look like there are 3, I don't have an internet connection, so I cannot show you, but you can come after and I'll show you. So basically the plan will look in 3 colors. So the first color is the red one with minuses. These are the resources that are going to be removed. The yellow color with this sign, it will tell you some modifications will be applied to the current infrastructure. It means that this resource won't be removed, but it will be updated. And the green color is something that you are going to add, to provision a new resource. Yes?
So what are the pros and cons for using Terraform instead of using, let's say, CloudFormation?
Yeah, great question. So the question is why to use Terraform and not CloudFormation? First, CloudFormation is it's AWS only. Okay, so if you have your infrastructure is running on multiple clouds and you want to use the same tool to provision the environments on different clouds, CloudFormation won't work for you. You will need to use Terraform. This is the first reason. The second reason is CloudFormation, they are delivering their changes slower than Terraform are doing it. Okay, this is the truth. Yes.
Why checking state file back into your version control? First, you might have secrets in the state file, And why not use the existing backends like S3?
I didn't understand the question.
So you are saying that after applying the change, you
Yeah.
get the state file and check it back into your version control.
Yes.
Why not storing it using the Terraform's supported storage backends like S3 or others?
That's a good question. So we can, Terraform supports like an external resources that you can save your blueprint, the TF state file. You can save it to S3, console, whatever. But we wanted to see everything in the same Git log. Okay? So you see all the changes. It's just a matter of, it doesn't matter, right? You want to fetch the change from single point of truth. So we decided to go with Git. You can use whatever you want. It's just something that works for us. You see everything in the same Git log, all the history. That's the answer, yes.
Hi. What's the, I've noticed you deploying to AWS.
Mm-hmm.
What is the, did you try to work with Terraform and VMware? Is it
Yes,
supported?
we try to work it with VMware, but currently we don't have the use cases. We don't have such big infrastructure inside VMware that we need to manage that we need to use Terraform. So we actually...
Is it supported?
Yes, yes, vSphere is supported. vSphere is one of the provisioners that Terraform supports. Yes, you can definitely use Terraform with vSphere.
Thanks.
We just don't have this use case.
Mm-hmm.
So actually Terraform was created for the infrastructure only. It means that the IaaS and the lower level. But if you want to manage the software level, like the operating system itself, you can do it in the specific ways with Terraform, but this is not the tool for that. You will need to use some configuration management for it, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, whatever. But this tool is for the infrastructure only. No questions?
Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Do you have an integration with the Jira, like if the code review has failed, or you have a test failed to create a task on the Jira so you can, let's say, automate the build again, or you have to do it in manual?
No, everything is created automatically. So each time you deploy, we run a Jira code. We created some Python scripts. So we execute a Python script against Jira. The Jira ticket is created with specific description. We update the description, and then at the end of the deploy, the Jira ticket is closed. So it's
wasn't visible on the
it wasn't visible because I wanted to have this session technically. It's only for our product management. I really, from the technical side, I really don't care about what's the information inside the Jira because we have the Git log, to be honest. Yes? Monitoring the provisioning? You cannot actually monitor it. What do you mean monitor the after we provision the environment, do we have monitoring? Yes, of course. Yes. So actually what happens is when you, for example, if you had a EC2 instance, so how do we install the monitor agent on the instance? We have a user data which is managed inside the Terraform. So once the VM is in the boot state, what is needed to be installed on this machine gets to be installed. It's connected to other systems, so it's done automatically. Yes.
Someone add router manually.
Yeah.
And later developer added to Terraform.
Yes. So what will happen if someone added the router manually and then I add it to Terraform and I want to provision it? So deployment in this case, the deployment will fail it will tell me this resource exists. So I have two choices. The first one, I can import the existing router into my configuration. There is a Terraform import command, so I can run import and import it. Or the second choice, I can remove it and provision it with Terraform. So two options here. Thank you very much.